walked through the hell that I walked through on this earth for a very specific purpose. And what I want to talk about today is a very controversial and sensitive topic. I want to say a disclaimer that I do not claim to be a religious person or have studied the Bible or anything like that. And I can see now where me not growing up in a religious household was exactly what I needed. I believe everything is unfolding exactly as it's supposed to. What I'm going to be talking about today is the second coming of Jesus. And I want to share my perspective and point of view on this because I'm following intuitive nudges to share, because I'm listening to that deeper, pure part of me rather than listening to my mind that would keep me in fear of sharing. So just know that, and know that my intention is pure, it is loving, and all I'm doing is presenting my perspective. I believe there's a lot of ascended masters from a lot of different texts and things that have been written, and so many of those texts line up and say where we're at. It's all been predicted because it's all been planned. We have free will to make certain choices along the way. It's philosophers and all this have been talking about these things for so long, and things are lining up because this is exactly how it's supposed to be. I just want to present a different perspective on what the second coming of Jesus means to me, and know as well that I work with these energies a lot when I do my meditation and when I say my prayers and things like that, which I do on a daily basis. I believe we have lots of angels, we have lots of guides and ancestors that work with us in these higher dimensions, and they don't have physical bodies. My perspective is that Earth is the only planet that beings have these dense bodies, these heavy, dense bodies. And there's a reason for all of that. The way I see it is there's ties with extraterrestrials in all of this and in everything that people have been talking about for so long and that these books have talked about. I feel a very strong connection with extraterrestrial beings for whatever reason. I just believe it was in my life path. And we all have roles to play here. From my perspective, there is no better than or less than. It is different. We vibrate at different frequencies. Our characters were created for different purpose. And it's all part of this process. And I believe from the other side, from the higher perspective, we live our lives from a human perspective. But from that higher perspective, yes, here we see good and bad. But from there, it's just light and dark, and it's not good or bad. Those are our human concepts that serve purpose, and there's a reason that we see things as good and bad. Like that's how this thing keeps running in the way that it does. So up to this point, the things that I have walked through in this life and the amount of time that I spent not wanting to be on this earth and the amount of time that I spent depressed and anxious and all of it. And there was times where I just knew that I was being carried through all of that, and through my perception of all that, I perceived it in a very specific way. I feel things in a very big way that maybe if somebody else had walked in those shoes, they might have perceived it differently. For me, it was so huge and overwhelming. There was this knowing in me that there was a reason for it, especially after my awakening experience last December. I knew that it was set up for me to walk through those things in that way. It was exactly what was supposed to happen. There were so many signs that told me, and things that lined up biblically after that awakening where I went, oh my gosh. And at first I was kind of like, wow, that almost makes it seem like evil. But that evil is just a concept. It's a human perception. And I believe as more of us start to wake up to our truth, these different perspectives will help us to create a world where we are one. And there's been many people that have talked about this in many different ways and many religious texts. I just want to present this perspective because this consciousness, I believe, even as somebody who is not any authority on the Bible or any religion, and I haven't studied the Bible, my experience has been that all of this information it lives in our pure consciousness. Everything that ever was and will be, it lives in that energy. And we can tap into that. It is some of our paths to really wake up to that. It doesn't mean that anyone is special. These people are going to hell and these people are like, we have the choice to do the healing work on ourselves, to wake up to this consciousness. Forgiveness, it's already forgiven. There's no need for forgiveness because it's done. We are accepted and we are loved unconditionally. Unconditional love means no conditions on that love. No thing that we can do in this 3D world separates us from that unconditional love. And we go back into that unconditional love no matter what our path was on this earth. The extraterrestrials and everything that's happening with these things flying in the sky and people feeling like aliens are coming back, and then from other perspectives, people feeling like Jesus is coming back in physical form and all these things, I believe that this pure consciousness that is our truth, every single one of us, when I can recognize that as living within me, and it's just the patterns we've been stuck in and the way that this society was built on greed and darkness in so many different ways, was all just part of the process here on earth, was all just part of our process as spirits or souls to go through this. And we all have a different role to play. And it is in some of our paths to really wake up to this at a certain point, I believe, and help lead us in building a new earth. So as we wake up to this consciousness, then that puts the responsibility on us to recreate this new world. We can continue operating in a way that is separate from that truth. And if we just keep contributing and building and working for these big corporations that are built on greed, that are contributing to perpetuating the problem, to perpetuating the issue of homelessness, of mental illness, of all of these things, all of these people that are struggling, all of these people that are lost, if we start to view it in that way, then it's about what can I do to wake up to this and to start acting differently, not because, oh my gosh, if I don't, I'm going to be damned to hell. Because then it's just, then when we're in fear, we are completely disconnected from that truth. So anytime I'm letting the fear take over, I am disconnected from that truth, which is pure unconditional love. And when I'm trapped in fear, then I'm not able to move forward in creating a reality that is based on that truth. So I really believe we're being called to look at that. And if we're just waiting for a savior, and believe me, for me, I was feeling for a little bit, maybe Jesus was going to come in physical form. And then I was feeling like the extraterrestrials were coming. And from my point of view, I do believe that maybe these beings will show up in some form, but I feel like it's more, everything is shifting within us at this time on this planet, and we're able to see things we weren't able to see before. And I've had glimpses of being able to see into these other dimensions and into this new earth, and it's so beautiful. These glimpses of being able to see the fabric that holds everything together, and it's like everything sparkles, and it's where we're headed. So I just want to present this and say, when we're not waiting for something to come in physical form, I got for a little bit too where I was like, oh, I feel like the aliens are coming back, and I felt very connected to extraterrestrials for most of my life. I just have this knowing that I'm connected with these beings somehow. For a little bit, I was like, oh, I want them to come. They're going to come save me. Anytime I see something in the sky, I'm like, hello, please. And I just recently was able to shift out of that and be like, we are the ones to create this. And yes, maybe something will come back in some sort of form. And I feel like extraterrestrials are, from my perspective, they are vibrating at and have these light bodies, as are angels and guides and ascended masters and all of these things like Jesus, like they do. And I believe that they vibrate on a similar frequency. And so maybe it's just that, and maybe they'll show up in some physical form, but when I look at it from the perspective of waking up to that pure consciousness within us, then I'm just repenting for my sins and continuing to be a wheel in this operation that operates in this dark and greedy way. Then it becomes our responsibility to create the new earth. So I think that's all I have to share. I just wanted to share that today. Thank you guys so much. Love you.